Today we're talking future-proofing a business.
When you're talking about future-proofing, is to get so good at technology that you reduce your expenses to essentially a minimum viable rate.
He who has the best tech wins. Like, can you just grow without adding additional costs? So I think that's always the dream of technology, is you can add less cost per marginal increased dollar of revenue. So as I think about future-proof, so much of it is, are we running a profitable business? Like, will technology help us run a healthier, more scalable business? Yes or no?
You're specifically worried about this X thing happening that would shock the industry?
Welcome back to Owned and Operated. I'm your host, John Wilson. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Jack Carr. We run plumbing, HVAC, and electric companies, somewhere between Cleveland and Nashville. So welcome to the show. This should be a good time.
What's going on, John?
Welcome. Today, we're talking future-proofing a business.
Which is not an easy topic in this day and age, unfortunately.
Yeah, you'd almost think it's the opposite, where there's so much technology that it's easier than ever. But I'm finding it's harder than ever because, like, technology shelf life is so much shorter.
Bingo. Technology shelf life is shorter, and the ability for somebody to get the new technology that is better allows them to actually own more market share in the long run. And there's just like so many parts to it's like it's a technology game now, which is crazy.
Yeah, I've said this a lot on this show. I feel like such an oldie in the industry, but yeah, grumpy. But this went from being this, like, I remember, like, on Twitter like 5 years ago, people were like, yeah, like plumbing, HVAC, like you're competing against people with fax machines in their office in 2020. And it's like, nah, dude, like today we are competing against sophisticated operators that are well-funded. Like,
Sophisticated
it's just not what it
operators
was 5 years ago. So technology is now a big deal.
Yeah. Well, not only are they well-funded, now they're well-trained, right? Like if you go to 2018 and you talk to someone about PPC, yeah, there might be somebody who just PPC, but like, are they the best PPC for home services person that's been doing it for 8 years? No. And not only that, now you have this influx of AI that, I mean, there's a bunch of companies out there. What is a great one is a good example. Like, I don't even know what they do. They're more expensive than I could ever imagine even paying, and they're enterprise only. And so if you're one of these massive companies that's well-funded, that is already has market share, that already has the people in place to know what they're doing, and now can afford the best of the best AI, which I'm assuming that is, they can afford the best of the best AI, like, how can you future-proof your business? It's a question.
Tight deadlines, breakdowns, last-minute jobs, that is just the life in the trades. And that's why we trust WeSupplyTrades.com. They're family-owned, and with nearly a century in business, they stock thousands of HVAC, plumbing, and hydronics parts from brands that you already use. They're shipped fast and even same day if you order by 3:30 Eastern. With a free pro membership, you'll get better pricing, free shipping over $99, and real experts who actually know the field. Get 20% off your first order with the code OWNED20 at the link below. We Supply Trades, finally a supplier who actually gets it. But yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely like he who has the best tech wins. And I think it's getting harder and harder to distinguish the best tech from not the best tech. For a while, like the best CRM was straightforward. Call center, all these different things were just, yes, more straightforward than they are today. It's definitely gray now, or at least I think so.
Yeah, I think that what it comes down to, though, when starting the conversation, what hasn't changed, right? Like there's a lot that has changed, but what hasn't changed is still the need of the business and the simplicity of the business in whatever home service industry you're in. Is there's really, again, we talked about this on a different episode recently. There's two key focuses. There's marketing and recruiting. Like, I think that we have to circle back and like really focus on the way to future-proof your business. Yeah, it's like, hey, you need to make sure that you're getting into AI and that you're actually trying things and that you're being scrappy. But
Yeah.
all that ends up revolving around is the same two things. It's like, hey, how are you getting scrappy in marketing? And how are you getting scrappy in recruiting? Making sure you have the best people. Do you disagree?
I think, yeah, I probably disagree a little bit. The only thing that it's like removing friction. So I think one of the gaps that we have, this is what we look to technology for. So how much of our day-to-day tasks can we automate, and are tasks worth automating? Like, everything can probably be automated, but sometimes the cost for automation is more than just hiring somebody. So, you always have to weigh those two things, because I think it's easy to get caught up in automation. But how much can be automated? Because what we're trying to do is there are some things that are out of our control. Like for HVAC, right now it's 65 degrees in November. So yeah, we're not having the most amazing time selling stuff. And for most of the country, this was a really challenging year for HVAC. So like, well documented, right? Like all of Carrier and Lennox and everyone said that they shipped like 30 to 40% less units to residential. So like, yeah, there's probably some winners and some losers, but as an industry, we installed 30 to 40% less boxes this year. That's crazy. So there's some things that are just out of your control and are macro. So what we like to have in our control is how much of our cost structure is variable, how much of our cost structure is low. And I think one of the dreams with AI is this like AI or technology arbitrage, where if I'm Wilson and my overhead is $500,000 a month or $700,000 a month, can I go just buy another business, and because I've invested in technology, can all of their gross profit just fall straight to net because their overhead becomes completely eradicated? Like, they don't need it. Maybe one manager or something like that. So I think that's a lot of how we're looking at it, is an adaptable cost structure.
So when you're talking about future proofing, your answer is to get, and correct me if I'm mishearing this wrong, but the answer to future proofing your business against changes to the market, like less people, downshift in the market, or issues with, not being able to trade wars, or whatever the case may be, is to get so good at technology and automation that you reduce your expenses to essentially a minimum viable rate.
Yeah, so that's one of them. So like, the way I see future proofing, you can future proof through people, and you can future proof through systems.
Okay.
So through people is like culture. Are we training? Are we adaptable? Are we nimble? Like how open to change is the team, and how fast to execute on that change are they? We can dive into that. And then the next one is automation. Like, are we using, like, one of the downsides of any growing business is the bigger you get, the more complicated it is. So how do you make it simpler? And one of the ways to make it simpler is flattening an org chart, investing in automation, so these tasks are just easier. And ideally, you outgrow your overhead. Like, can you just grow without adding additional costs? So I think that's always the dream of technology, is you can add less cost per marginal increased dollar of revenue.
This is an interesting take. I did not see your take going this way.
Yeah, I mean,
that's cool.
We're here to drive
I don't disagree
margin.
with you. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, because for people who don't know, we don't actually like write all this out before we start digging in. Like, I thought John was going to go more of the path of like, hey, customer experience, like focusing on customer experience might be.
I think that's a part of it.
I definitely do, but you can't automate, right? You can automate portions of the customer experience, but I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, the answer is not marketing versus recruitment and how to optimize both of those verticals. It's people and systems. How do you optimize both of those? Because if you optimize your people to train better, do better, act
and
better,
to build those systems, or to implement those systems.
Well, but also,
so like the first part is like training the
experience,
team,
right? Is going to be people, whereas your automation is going to be your systems. So I don't disagree. I just came to the conclusion in a different route.
When the people side is where we are is most of our change day to day is driven by our team. So like, yeah, I might have an idea or something we want to execute on, but for the most part, like I'm not executing on very much of it anymore. So the team is like implementing this software or this AI partner or what I saw that or whatever it is. So I think training them to be able to do that is important because I think if the team is, adaptable, then the company can be adaptable.
Do you find, or do you imagine that this changes at different levels of revenue, right? So that's something that you're living through, so it makes sense at your level. But again, some portion of our audience are smaller contractors. Like
Yeah.
you're able to go in and say, hey, I'm gonna sub out, not necessarily sub out, but like my team will do the work to automate these systems out. Whereas on even my size, right, it would mostly be me. Like that task is something that falls onto me or somebody I hired to do that, which I tried and failed miserably at. So
It's hard.
it's
Yeah,
a
it's hard.
hard situation, especially if it's a
Yeah.
catch-all role. So
I would say it's easier when you're smaller because you can directly impact it a little bit tighter. So like if
okay.
the analogy that we use internally is, are you turning a cruise ship or a rowboat or like a
hmm
jet ski? Like it's obviously easier to turn a jet ski. So if it's you and one person or you and two people driving a change into the business, it's easier.
Yeah.
Like it just is. Like you can just go do it. Maybe there's less people involved. Maybe it's a smaller team. Maybe you own that project for whatever reason. But it's easier. But you're getting your hands dirty. I think it as you grow, it gets harder because you have to get buy-in, and you have to get things that you didn't have to get before because you would just go do it. But now you have to explain it fully. You have to explain the why. You have to explain the outcomes. You have to explain how we're going to measure success. Then you have to explain what it is. Like, hey, here's what we're doing and why it's important to the business, why it's important to you, why it's helpful that you drive this change. And it's hard. It is hard to make changes on a dime. And that's a weakness. Like it should be easy, right? Because you have to be adaptable and you have to be nimble. Because the slower you turn and the slower you adapt, the more likely you are to get punched in the face by some, black swan event.
Yeah.
So you have to be adaptable, but it's hard to stay nimble.
Yeah, so that adaptation at a smaller level is a portion of the ability to change systems
Yeah.
and people early on, and that is what protects you from future change in the market.
I think a flattened org chart.
Yeah.
Yep. And then having a lot of technology, because what we found, we have some teams that we've like automated a lot of the work they did or like brought in AI or whatever. Like call center is a really great example. Like 2 years ago, I think we had 18 call takers. And like, I'm sure someone could reference back to show notes, but it was somewhere in that range. We have 5 right now. And most of that is driven through technology. We automated a ton of it. We brought on AI partners with Evoca. Like we just changed a lot. And we went from 13 to 5. And that team obviously got a lot easier to manage. And changes were faster to happen because we didn't have to educate 18 people. So to me, that's an example of future-proofing. We increased our margin and we made that department easier to scale.
Yeah.
And like less friction to scale because now there's no more people really. Like we just automate more and more.
Yeah, Matzner put it really good. John Matzner, he said there's a few, I think he said there's 4 different types, and he probably got it from somewhere, but there's 4 different types of leverage. And I keep hearing you talk about 2 of them, which are technology leverage and people leverage, right? It's like you're leveraging technology to be able to remove obstacles as well as, right? Code doesn't expire, code doesn't change, code doesn't, go bad. So if you're able to do the work of 4 or 5 people all simultaneously, like why wouldn't you leverage that technology? And then the same with leveraging people is, we've talked about it on here before as well, is looking at overseas staffing for a lot of positions. Cause I know that is what we both do to reduce headcount. But also, right, I mean, I think that we get some better service, reduce headcount.
What increases margin?
Increase margin.
If I have to summarize like future proofing to me, who has the margin? I remember as we were like growing through the teens, so much of the focus was revenue, and we weren't running like a profitable business yet. Like it was kind of profitable, but like we're putting pretty consistent like 15 to 16 on the bottom now, which we still have a ways to go, but like we used to be 3 to 5.
Yeah.
And because we have margin, we can be nimble. And that's something that we learned this year. We 4x'd EBITDA this year over last year. And we're finding that we are in general making much better decisions because we can be nimble, but we can also like be strategic. Like we can look at more than just like today's cash or tomorrow's cash, and we could just make a good decision, which I don't think we used to be able to because we had less margin. So as I think about future proof and like how nimble and how much can we invest, like so much of it is, are we running a profitable business?
Yeah, I think the question becomes like, what happens if the market falls out and it doesn't become a profitable business? Not that it doesn't become
Well, and that's
profitable,
why I like the
just the top
technology
drops.
too.
Yeah.
Yes. Like how can you take a 30% punch to the
There
face?
you go.
Like how nimble can you be?
Yeah.
And that's why I think so much of this is how can we automate? How can we make variable cost structure? How can we invest in people so that they can change fast when markets change?
And so with that, I mean, I think a big portion of this, right, that doesn't seem to be able to be focused on, I mean, it does tie in, but it's not a direct line item for you, is like debt. That's a great example. It's like that could be one of the main harbingers of death in case of, you know, an issue with market or future proofing. How do you view debt from a market proofing standpoint? Right, because debt is almost inverse to like market proofing.
Yes.
You take on debt to leverage out cash. That's the third leverage point, is like money, funds.
Yeah.
How do you leverage funds to be able to focus on growth? But inherently, like debt is the inverse of net.
Yeah,
Not
I've had
directly, but something like that.
my opinion on this has like obviously changed with time.
Yeah.
You know, during like 2-3% interest rates, debt all day.
Yeah.
Right. Like growth was easy. Interest rates were low. It just wasn't that complicated. I mean, we have some loans that adjusted to like 10% because they were on like adjustable notes. And like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
most
our
SBA
stance,
loans.
yeah, our stance now is like we're delevering.
Yeah. So the idea now is you're at a point where delevering makes, I mean, but like look at someone like me, right? So we're at a point where, I mean, still tight. We are doing, 10 double digits bottom line. But there's still a decent, balance sheet amount of debt on the books because obviously we bought a business, we bought 14 trucks, like there's a lot there. And so we focus on it too. But like, what is the importance of somebody in my position saying, hey, I want to, mitigate future downside? How much should I focus on debt, or should I focus on putting money away for run rate? Like, how would you view that?
You're great at fixing broken shit, so why not fix your lead flow? Well, Modernize gives contractors predictable, high-intent leads without the big marketing gambles. Break out of the feast and famine cycle and expand into new markets with a steady stream of homeowners ready to start jobs now. Modernize is trusted by founders like myself because it actually delivers. Over $4 billion in homeowner projects started here in the last 12 months. Visit the link below to get started. Yeah, so we've done both. We spent most of the year focusing on building cash, and in Q3 we started building a strong balance sheet. And I think your point, just to like summarize it, is aside from margin, you also need to have a healthy balance sheet in order to future-proof. Like you need to run a healthy business, which I agree. And on one hand, that sounds obvious, and on the other hand, most people, including me, for a lot of my career, did not run a healthy P&L and balance sheet at the same time. So like, it's okay. It's just like, time to get there probably. So
thanks for the advice, John.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
a weak balance sheet.
I feel like people
it's
could
time
be
to
like,
get there.
Yeah, I feel like people could be like, well, that's so obvious. And it's like, yes, it's obvious. My guess is most of the listeners are unhealthy. And like, there's parts of us that are unhealthy. Like, we probably have like our debt is healthy according to banks, but like, is it healthy according to me? I'd love to have 2 million less debt.
Yeah. No, I'd love to have no debt. Like that's the obvious answer. But
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to get at though is, right, there's an inverse relationship between growth and debt. Right. So I could take out,
Yeah.
for example, if a bank would lend it to me, $3 million tomorrow or $5 million tomorrow and dump all of that into growth. And probably if I'm a half good operator, get significant growth.
Yeah.
That being said, probably not healthy from a balance sheet perspective is like, hey, now you have a giant payoff. And even if you get that growth, the risk of a downturn, which is what we're talking about here, or changes in AI that makes certain things obsolete, like whatever the case may be, like how do you view that? Like, is there a balance, or do you view that as, hey, like that's the risk you have to take? I guess the answer that I'm trying to push through from you is not, obviously no debt is better, but where's the healthy standard that you view for yourself and your business and from your risk profile? Because obviously too, there's a risk factor. Like how much risk are you willing to eat? It sounds like less today than it was in 2021.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with a couple people yesterday, and the question was, are you currently risk on or risk off? Like, is your mindset risk on or risk off? Like, and like it's kind of a spectrum of like, yeah, I'll take a little bit here, a little bit there. But yeah, right now I'm definitely leaning risk off. Whereas a lot of our career we were pretty risk on. So like risk on is like, yeah, let's go lever up and buy some stuff. And today I'm less concerned, and we're much more concerned about like healthy balance sheet, healthy P&L, good culture. Like, are we driving the things that we want, and are we driving like 20% EBITDA?
Is that based on like your growth and your size and like where you're at as a company, or is that based on macro trends?
I would say size and where the company's at. Like at a certain point, it's just too much money. Like it's just too much. Like you cross into the 20 millions and you've got PGs and you've got debt and like
that makes sense.
And the expectations from vendors or banks ratchet up, which they rightfully should. Like we have credit lines with some vendors that are like $1 million some dollars. Like they should have expectations of like, am I running a healthy business? So a couple of years ago, we started being required to submit quarterlies to our vendors like Ferguson. Like we have to give them financials. We have a big credit line with them. So we, really as the expectations ratcheted up from the external stakeholders, we started focusing a lot more on, hey, are we running like a healthy, scalable, future-proof business? Are we running a profitable business here? But we got sort of pushed into that, which I think was good. Like it was a good pressure, but we got pushed into that from external vendors and in banks. Just like, hey, you either didn't submit your quarterlies because we weren't running an organized accounting department, or you did. And like, here's where you're weak. What's your plan? So yeah, it was good. Healthy pressure.
So risk off because of size, which I understand. Like I remember the moment that we crossed like, hey, I can't fund this anymore if it were to go south from my own, savings and what I could potentially get on the
that
job.
was my dad's. That was always my dad's. He's like, I never want to get so big that I can't save it personally.
Yeah. And that was,
like, we're definitely well beyond
anxiety. That was, I remember the day and where I was at, where I realized looking at the book, like if this goes south, I can't go get a job and like cover the debt and like save my house. Like it's gone, gone, boy. That's interesting though. Like I actually really am taking a lot out of this conversation because I didn't expect it to go here. But so it sounds like that we've kind of gone through a few areas here, but to recap, just so I can align my mind, it was there's people and systems, which if you're reducing risk, you need to focus on getting your people and your systems correct. By being small, it's easier sometimes to write those people and systems and then build the systems correctly, build the people programs correctly as you continue to move. People programs might look like, hey, how do we do these specific jobs? How do we build the right leaders into the right places? And then the systems look like deleting as much overhead as possible in case of issues, leveraging technology, focusing on how to flatten the org chart. And then on the back end, trying to reduce debt, determining whether you're a risk on or risk off company, because I don't think there's a right answer in a hypothetical here, but knowing what you are and then how to eventually stake and turn it the opposite way or turn it off for good. Like, hey, and that's why I think some of the big businesses, they don't grow as fast, right? They move from a risk on to a risk off perspective. A lot of their decisions are slower growth. You're no longer shooting for 6,000% growth. You're going for 30 or 40. So that makes sense. Is there anything else I'm missing here that you think is a soapbox that you should get up on?
No, I mean, for us, it's sort of like the North Star is a healthy and profitable business. Like you need to have a healthy and profitable, which again sounds obvious. And any decision, anything else that you could use to future-proof your business is really just, is this helping us towards our North Star? Like, will technology help us run a healthier, more scalable business? Yes or no? Will our marketing help us do that? Will, whatever this thing is that we're looking at, will it help us drive down cost or increase revenue or strengthen our balance sheet?
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, the obvious one, which comes to immediately to mind for me because it's so new, is knowing numbers, like knowing your numbers and having those stats and data is a headache and it is a nightmare. But that, if you want to talk about future-proofing your business, you can't even get to your step of like, hey, run a profitable and great business, because you don't know if you're running a profitable and great business because you don't even have the numbers.
I mean, there were years we had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's taken us a year since we started this, and solely because of this podcast that we focused on getting our gross margin. Because I'm trying to think of like, hey, well, what happens if X, Y, or Z happens? Well, even if you were to just like randomly fire half your staff and like cut all these truck expenses and let them get repoed, like all the intricacies and like the actual nuance of it doesn't actually matter, because you don't know what you would do it to, because you don't have your break-even numbers, you don't have your financials. So like, if there's a first step, to me, it sounds like get your numbers right.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know where you're going if you don't know where you're at.
Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense for me. Is there anything that you foresee on the horizon, just again, wild shot in the dark? Like, what are you worried about? We have a buddy, mutual friend, and the only thing like that he worries about in the HVAC industry, and the reason he got out of the HVAC industry is because he was worried about the Uberization of the trades. I don't worry about it as much now that I've been in the trades for a long time and realize like the difficulty that it would take. It would be a $1 trillion business, much like Uber or Lyft or whatever. But this decentralization of talent, like that was his. Do you have one that's like that, where you're specifically worried about this X thing happening or this Y thing happening that would shock the industry?
Yeah. At one point it was the Amazon effect. I'm sure that some version of AI will do this. So if we think back to like the North Star of like, hey, can we drive a profitable business? What AI should ultimately do is it should disrupt your cost structure. So if I run a 50% gross margin business, then I have 50% of potential costs and potential profits. With some of the technology that's starting to come out now, the large portions of that are going to shrink. So it's pretty common to see like 50% margin, 40% overhead, 10% net profit. We're usually like 49, 50% gross profit and like 33 to 35%, sometimes 36 or 7 in a week month overhead. So the way we're looking at this is, can this investment push us to 25% overhead? And can we have 25% sustainable EBITDA? Or can it push us to 20% overhead? And like, how far can we go? If we need less people, we need less square footage. If we need less square footage, we need less utilities. And it's sort of this like, it can really ripple pretty far. And then if technology runs most of your day-to-day, how do you find ways to add incremental gross margin? So I think what I'm saying is less about the Amazon or I think like he who has the techs is going to win. And like you've got ARS and you have Apex and you have all these guys with 10,000 techs. And I think the bigger concern is that they radically change their cost structures and they gain another 10 points of EBITDA, and they invest 5 points of those EBITDA into taking market share over the US. I think that's a much more likely problem.
Yeah, if you could see me right now, I'm shaking my head yes, 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 because that, I mean, I think that's where the big worry is big tech.
That's like the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Like with a lot of the technology out there now,
I've said it from the beginning. It's going to crush the middle guy. Like we've talked about this for like 2 years. Is the middle guy is getting crushed because the truck in the truck can still slang a unit for 500, but the crazy
or they can be subcontracted by the big ones,
or they can be subcontracted. But most likely, if they're out on their own, it's just them. Like they can install something for $400, zero overhead because it's their cell phone and it's their truck that they use for life, and there's no overhead, right? So your cost is the infrastructure. And it just happens like it is the same cost as a multinational conglomerate can get because they can push their purchasing power so low. And what's historically helped everyone else out is that with that low purchasing power, it also comes with a naturally somewhat decently high margin or an expense, right? I have to have more people, I have to have a bigger shop, I have to have this and this and this to be able to manage everybody. But if AI comes in and smashes 95% of that, it pushes them down to the same price as the chuck in the truck. But instead of making $500 in the unit, they're making 50% margins on the unit. They can do more of them. And everybody in the middle who is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 higher, you know, as much as people love like, hey, we love the family-owned company, nobody loves the family-owned company for $4,000 more. Like it's just, you know, it is what it is. Small businesses get pushed out. I mean, look at Walmart, like what they did.
It's a thing. So I think that's the bigger like challenge. And I think what's shocking to me is we're closer than we probably think. So Avoca's got this thing called, I think it's called Onyx, and it literally automates your front office now. So like you can call in, it handles everything from the inbound call, does outbound too, inbound SMS, to booking the call, to dispatching it. Like it covers that whole thing now. And I mean, you know, you add that to a giant or a small company, you add that to any company, I guess. I don't know how much it is, but like that disrupts the cost structure. Okay, and so maybe you save company, like 8 points.
This is the, I guess that's the point of the episode. So as a small company, how do you fight Onyx, the big company who just cut 8 points? Like what's the move? Go to Excel spreadsheets and automate as much as you can. Like
I guess. I mean, I would try to find ways to invest in technology yourself. I mean, the problem is it depends on who they are. Like they're either going to add that straight to EBITDA and do nothing else, or they're going to market more. So like who's the operator that you're competing against? But yeah, if they're marketing more, like that is going to be a tough gig. I think it's the same thing as always. If you're competing against somebody bigger, you have to be doing things they aren't doing. So if they're all on Google, probably don't do Google.
You got to bob and weave.
Way.
Bob where they're
not.
You got to
bob and weave.
Weave where they're not. If it means, hey, your entire team, what comes to mind for me is like, you get these new automated platforms that are doing all the marketing and are coming up with it's crazy now. They're coming up with the images and the copy and they're just auto posting it and getting leads and it works or it doesn't. And it can cycle through hundreds of these. But like, you know, what they can't do is they can't knock on your door. So I know door knocking is some, you know, it can be a gray area for some, but my point is, you know, bob and weave where they can't. But interesting. I mean, I don't know if there's an answer for this hypothetical. So,
yeah. Well, I think if we're back to the North Star of like, are we healthy? Are we profitable? Are we nimble? Then like you can compete better than like if you're running a 3% shop. Yeah. Like you don't really have time to figure out how to bob and weave.
Yeah. I mean, like you said though, within 12 months to go from like, hey, I'm a 6, 8, 10% shop to like, I need to be. This person just cut all their expenses, you know, 30%, 20%, some crazy number. Like we were already competing with, like, for example, I'm talking about, I don't think we have to beep this one out. Coolray sells stuff at dirt cheap. They are an absolutely cheap competitor.
Really? I don't think I knew that. Are they Wrench?
Wrench Group in our market. And it's because I've seen their purchasing power and it's ridiculous. Like they run a massive organization. They get amazing carrier prices with amazing carrier rebates.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is like they're already on par, like with the max purchasing power we can get versus them. Like if
Yeah.
they were to say, hey, we're going to an AI system that cuts 20% margin and we're passing that on to you, like a shitty infomercial, like we would get destroyed. There's no way that we could drop another 20% on the top line. I guess you're right. No, the answer would be, well, Jack, you need to figure out how to drop 20%.
I mean, that really is
the
it.
answer.
Like that is it. Because if companies my size are figuring out like, hey, I can go from 35% overhead to 29, which that's our target. That's 6 points. That's a lot of freaking money.
But the crazy part though is a lot of money for you guys. It's like 6 points in a smaller industry, like a $2 million company, is not that much. So like that's you changing VOIPs. That's you changing from service time saying, hey, I can't afford service time right now because I'm just getting beat up by AI, to jobber or whoever. Like that's the answer. Unfortunately, is like, hey, I need to cut 6% or 7% to be able to match so that this works. And then it's the hope that, they misallocate all that money to investors rather than pay their people more and recruit better.
Yeah.
So awesome. I mean, I think that that's
how to future-proof the business.
This is how you future-proof a business. And I think that the other part,
run a healthy, nimble business.
I think the answer to this actually is right in front of us, John. The answer to this is you need to get in front of some other operators and freaking talk about it. Like this exercise right here has been kind of, it's made a difference for me in just this sitting. So, I mean, that's probably the answer.
Yeah. I mean, you talk to half the stuff that we've talked about, I've gotten from other people. Like I found out that other companies were fully automating. Like I've talked to companies in the last couple months that are several $100 million organizations that have 2 call takers. Yeah. That's crazy. And this is something that we didn't even know was possible like a year or 2 ago. And it's not just one, it's like kind of a lot. So we're just talking to more and more people, and it's like, well, what are you going to do with the $3 million that you just gained? Like that's the real math that these companies are looking at. And it's okay. Well, a lot of it's going to be EBITDA. Maybe it's new locations. Maybe it's whatever, but it's giving bigger companies more ammunition.
Well, and
for sure.
It's first to growth as well, right? It's that you put it back into growth into different locations, winner take all. So,
Are you still running your business on pen and paper or a clunky software? FieldPulse is the top-rated field service management platform that saves you 5 to 10 hours a week. It syncs with QuickBooks, and it puts scheduling, invoicing, and more all in one place. FieldPulse users grow 78% a year on average. Book your demo today using the link in the description and get 15% off an annual plan. FieldPulse, a field service management software for those who need more.
Awesome. Well, this is an awesome episode.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure you give us 5 stars wherever it is that you listen to podcasts.
5 stars, people.
5 stars. 5. We need them desperately. It's for our egos.
We're fighting AI.